الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. So today inshallah on this April what? 14th?
No.
Yeah, 14th. And April 14th, here in the beginning of Shawwal after Ramadan, we're going to start inshallah Adab and Mufrad. Alright, the reason why obviously I chose this book, because obviously the importance of manners, we can't downplay. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned this about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Surah Al-Qalam, when He said, Noon, wal-qalami wa ma yasturun. ما أنت بنعمة ربك بمجنون وأن لك الأجر غير ممنون وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He mentioned Noon, He said, وَالْقَلَمِ وَمَا يَسْطُرُونَ, and the qalam, and the pen, and what is right, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the pen to write everything that's going to be from that time until the day of judgment. And then He said, مَا أَنْتَ بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ بِمَجْنُونَ, that you're not, you know, with the blessing of your Lord, that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down to you from the wahi, from the risala, is not that you're not crazy. That this is indeed revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He said, وَأَنَّ لَكَ لَأَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونَ. And so He has a great reward, and a reward that will not be held back, and He will not be prevented from that reward. It will not be held back from it. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلَقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that you are on an extremely great character. So as from our deen, obviously, is to not just take the things that we need to understand and the belief in the hearts, the belief of the heart, but we also need to take on the proper action, the proper manners, the proper etiquette, and everything. And this, of course, it comes before seeking knowledge. You know, and this goes back to the statement of Imam Malik, when Imam Malik's mother was sending him out to seek knowledge, and she sent him to Rabi'ah, and she told him, she said, you know, go to him, اذهب إليه وتعلم من أدبه قبل أن تعلم من علمه. You know, so when she sent him to go out to study with Rabi'ah, she told him, she said, go and learn from his manners before you take from his knowledge. Take from his manners before you take from his knowledge. And of course we know that the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in the hadith, he said, أَنَّ أَقْرَبُكُم مِّنِّي مَنْزِلًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَأَحَبَّكُمْ إِنَّ مِنْ أَحَبِّكُمْ إِلَيَّ وَأَقْرَبُكُم مِّنِّي مَنْزِلَةً يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَحَاسِنُكُمْ أَخْلَاقًا. So these are the people that are the most beloved to the Messenger ﷺ. They're the most beloved, and they have the closest manzila, the closest, how does manzila in English?
Settlement?
Not settlement.
Housing?
Yeah, like position or something, position, station, or whatever. They have the closest positioning to the Prophet ﷺ on the Day of Judgment. The ones that are closest to him are the people that have the best character. The best character. And well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ يَهْدِي لِلَّتِي هِيَ أَقْوَمُ. You know, that this Quran, it guides the people to that which is aqwam, which is the best of all behavior. Everything that the Quran guides us to, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us to in the Quran, is the best of all behavior. To be the best that we can be. And we should strive to take on that character and those manners and the behavior and the proper etiquette of a Muslim. Not just in dealing with our, you know, and how we carry ourselves, but also in the way that we deal with each other. Because we live in the West, we've started to take on a lot of the manners of the kuffar. And the kuffar, they took on their manners from like the manners of wild beasts and animals along this time. You know, so, and we start to take on that type of behavior. And that's sad. It's a very, very sad state that we're in, because now you start to see Muslims, but you don't see Islam in their behavior. You don't see Islam in their dealings with people. You don't see Islam in their character. You know, the majority of the Muslims lack even the most common patience just to deal with each other. The most impatient. But then when they go amongst the kuffar, they smile. Yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And there's all proper etiquette when he's amongst the kuffar. But then when he comes around the Muslims, he wants to act all big and bad and raise his voice and get aggressive and act all foolish. Our manners, our etiquette, our behavior, our character should be the best amongst the believers, amongst ourselves. And we should also carry that same character and the same good etiquette, good manners amongst the kuffar, because it's da'wah. And we're not. I mean, we're not, should be act like a bunch of, you know, I don't know.
Cowards.
Huh?
Cowards.
Well, I mean, that's cowardice like that. I mean, going and being weak, you know, all nice and Mr. Etiquette amongst the kuffar. And then, you know, come around the Muslims, because you know the Muslims have more patience, and then you want to bash their head. And that's definitely cowardice to have that type of, you know, you should have aggressive behavior with people that are aggressive. That you know, but they don't. They find that aggressive behavior with weak people that are trying to be nice and kind. But along this time, I mean, our behavior should not be the behavior of street, you know, just like street garbage. Our behavior should be the best. And whenever people look at us, they should see the best of all manners. You know, and this is no doubt when we talk about the books of manners, this is definitely the best book that was compiled. Yeah, this book. Which is Adab and Mufrad. It was written by Imam Bukhari. And of course, you have other books that are written in manners. You got books that are specifically dealing and detailing with the manners of the Tullab al-Ilm, which is like, for example, Jami' لأخلاق الراوي وآداب السامع للخطيب البغدادي, which is a very, very, very beautiful book. You also have Jami' Bayan al-Ilmi wa Fadlihi, which also goes over the manners and the etiquette of a student of knowledge. You also have Al-Mawardi. He wrote a book, it's called Adab ad-Din wa Dunya. And some, depending on the print, some of the prints might say Adab ad-Dunya wa Din, but it depends on the print that you buy. But this, no doubt, is the best of all of those books. And also you have Ibn Hibban. He has the book, it's called Rawdatul Uqala, which is not a book specifically dealing with manners, it's a book dealing with the aql. And this is what a person who has a correct aql, this is the way that he acts. So in a way it is dealing with manners, and but it's also one of those books that every student of knowledge should be very familiar with. Khatib al-Baghdadi also has another book, it's called Sharaf al-Ashab al-Hadith, which shows the honor of the people of Hadith and how they carry themselves. Who else? Al-Ajuri. He has a book, it's called Akhlaq al-Ulama, which is a very beautiful book. It's a small little risala, and also very beneficial. And he also has, if I'm not mistaken, it's called Akhlaq Hamalat al-Quran. Al-Ajuri. But also Imam Nawawi has a similar book about the manners of the person, you know, the carries. But Imam Al-Ajuri, Akhlaq Hamalat al-Quran.
Yeah, I have the shop.
Yeah, that's also a very, very good book. So, I mean, there's a lot of books, but no doubt that this is the best book. And because there's no benefit in a person carrying a lot of information and knowledge in their heads if their mannerisms are horrible. Because what you end up doing is the people will never listen to the knowledge that you have, because you end up chasing the people away from the deen. You know, I remember this is something that Farid used to say, and it's a statement from the Salaf, but I didn't hear it from the Salaf, I heard it from Farid. So that's why I say Farid used to say it. He said, you know, don't chase the people out, you know, chase the people from the deen with your bad manners. You know, because it should be with our good manners and our good character that we start to bring the people to the deen and bring the people to the masjid and bring them where the people want to sit around us, not to try to run away from us. Allahumma musta'an. So inshallah, we're going to try to take at least one chapter every single day, inshallah. Huh? There's no muqaddimah. The muqaddimah is for the muhaqqiq, it's not for Imam al-Bukhari. What does it say in the muqaddimah? No, no, for the Muqaddimat al-Adab.
So, you know.
Check and see if that's actually from Imam al-Bukhari.
I think this one.
That's not.
Sheikh Al-Albani.
Yes, from Shaykh al-Albani.
It says
Rahimahullah.
so that Tarhib, like that's not
Yeah.
from Sheikh.
Imam al-Bukhari he didn't put any muqaddimah, even in his Sahih. He just, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You know. All right, so inshallah, like I said, we'll be taking just a chapter, and this is not. I mean, this is a book on manners, and this is a book about reading through the Sunnah and understanding what it is upon us. So this is not going to be some big elaborate explanation. We're going to read through the hadith. We're going to look at them, look at the hadith, and we're going to just try to deal with the issues that we face and how we can fix our own problems with bad etiquette and bad manners. So along this time. So, قال الإمام أبو عبد الله محمد بن إسماعيل ابن إبراهيم ابن من؟ ابن المغيرة ابن بردزبة البخاري الجعفي البخاري رحمه الله تعالى باب ما جاء في قوله تعالى ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا. That we advise. So here he said, "Bab ma ja'a fi qawlihi." So this is the chapter is based on the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ankabut, "Wa wasayna al-insana bi walidayhi husna." And what's the rest of it? After this, what did he say? No. After the ayat itself. No, but what's the rest of it? وإن جاهداك أن تشرك بي فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا. Alright. So here ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حسنا, that we have advised and we've the wasiyah is used in the Arabic language for what? Generally.
If you do something wrong.
No. Wasiyah is used in the Arabic language. Wassa, yuwassi, tawsiyatin, muwasiyatin is used in the Arabic language as parting advice. Parting advice. Like a wasiyah is generally is used as a will in the Arabic language. So for example, like you have people that inherit from you. So they get inheritance. But then you want to include in the will people who what? Huh? People, but they don't inherit from you. Because you can't put people that inherit from you in a wasiyah, in the will. Why? The Prophet ﷺ said, قَالَ أَعْطَى اللَّهُ كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقُّهُ فَلَا وَصِيَّةَ لِلْمَنِ فَلَا وَصِيَّةَ لِلْوَارِثِ. So he said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, and we'll be going over this, not tonight in Bulugh al-Maram, but when we go over the chapter of wasiyah, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given every person who has a right, He's given him his rights. So from amongst the sons and the daughters and the fathers and the grandfathers, anybody that inherits them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already portioned off their rights. Then he said after that, قَالَ أَعْطَى Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala كُلِّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقُّهُ فَلَا وَصِيَّةَ لِلْوَارِثِ. So there's no wasiyah, there's no will for a person who inherits, because he's already got his rights. The inheritance is for other people. Maybe you had a neighbor who was very good to you, he always helped you out, but he's also very poor. And then you have money, so you want to include the neighbor, you want to have the neighbor to have a portion of your wealth after you die, so you give that person, you write the wasiyah, and you know. Alright, and this is the wasiyah, right?
No.
Huh?
واحد يقول شيء.
Huh?
هو قال هل تظن الأدب المفرد أفضل من رياض الصالحين في باب الأدب والأخلاق؟
أوسع. أوسع.
سوى من مكة.
أوسع. Because when we're talking about the adab, we're talking about how you're dealing with people and what the people see from you. Whereas like Riyadh al-Salihin, in the first like maybe, I don't know, 15 something chapters, something like that, is dealing with the things that go on in the inside. So when we're dealing with just the issue of adab, then adab al-Mufrad is outside, it's more, it's vast. Whereas the adab al-Riyad al-Salihin, the chapters on actual just manners itself, how you deal with people, they're limited, but it's definitely still beneficial, very, very beneficial.
وقال لا خلاف فقط سؤال.
Huh?
وقال لا خلاف فقط سؤال.
What?
وقال لا خلاف فقط سؤال.
La khilaf?
هو-
Alright, so that's a wasiyah, right? And also we see in the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said what? Where he's given the mu'idah, baligha, فضرفت منها العيون ووجلت منها القلوب وضرفت منها العيون فقال يا رسول الله كأنها موعظة المودع فأوصينا. So he said that this, the Prophet ﷺ gave them like a sermon, a talk, and it was shaking the hearts, and it caused tears to come out of the people's eyes. And then they said to the Prophet ﷺ, they said, كأنها what? موعظة المودع. It's like the sermon of a person who's about to leave us, about to depart from us. فأوصينا. So then they didn't say فانصحنا. What did he say? فأوصينا. So this is the wasiyah. Give us a wasiyah. Give us that parting advice before you go. Since this seems that So this is what the wasiyah is. So وصينا الإنسان. Alright, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this wasiyah. This is all of the humans. بِوَالِدَيْهِ what? Husna. So what? How you translate that?
Good treatment. Good treatment.
Yeah, to be good and to be upright, to have good manners with the parents. And then how do you do that? وَصَاحِبُهُمَا what? Alright, ma'rufa. Alright, so what is this ma'ruf? What does this mean?
That which is good. That which is good.
That which is, acceptable amongst the people, which is known to be the good amongst in the urf. Alright, so now we have an issue because we live in America. And what is the urf of America? Yeah, disrespect to the parents, talking back to the parents. So does that mean that we do this the way that they do it because this is the urf, this is the standard operating procedures here in America, like dealing with the parents? So what do we take from?
From them, nothing.
Nothing. We take nothing from their behavior, especially dealing with our parents. But we go back to the Quran and the Sunnah, and we take what we understand from what we have to do from the Quran and the Sunnah. Now, obviously, a lot of us, we deal with parents that are not Muslim. Is that true or not? A lot of us, not all of us. Your parents are Muslim. Robert, your parents?
No.
No.
Yes.
They are Muslim. All right. So, but for the ones that don't, they have to deal with the parents that aren't Muslim. What is that ma'ruf, and how do we deal with them? We still have to obey them.
Not haram.
Anything that doesn't, anything that isn't against our
Anything that doesn't compromise the deen. But everything else, preparing food for your mother, helping out your father, taking out the garbage, washing the dishes, doing all the basic things, not speaking back to your mother, even though, not arguing with her. All right, but still giving her dawah and teaching her the things that she needs to know for the deen. All right, so now let's begin. حدثنا أبو الوليد قال حدثنا شعبة بن من.
Shu'bah.
We've already taken this before.
It was the Mawla of.
No, شعبة بن من. ابن الحجاج. قال الوليد بن عيزار أخبرني قال سمعت أبا عمرو الشيباني يقول حدثنا صاحب هذه الدار. So he said, Amr ibn Shaybani said, حدثنا صاحب هذه الدار. Like the person of this dar, the person of this house, he's the one that gave me this hadith. Alright, وَأَوْمَأَ بِيَدِهِ إِلَى دَارِ عَبْدِ اللَّهِ. And he pointed with his hands to the house of Abdullah. Abdullah ibn Man. No. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Alright. وأومأ بيده نحو إلى دار عبد الله. قال سألت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أي العمل أحب إلى الله. So here Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, I asked the Messenger, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which of the actions are most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now we know that this question, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, and different times he would give different answers. Previously in the class that we took in the daily hadith, you weren't here, you came late, alright, but we talked about the hadith from Jum'ah, right? Where the Prophet sallallahu where Aisha radiallahu anha, she reported, she said, سُئِلَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم أي العمل أحب إلى الله فقال أدومها وإن قل. So here the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave an answer. Aisha, she said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, what actions are the most beloved actions to Allah? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what? The most consistent actions, adwamuha. So the most consistent actions, even if they're few and little in number, but you're consistent and persistent with these actions. And also we see in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, من عاد لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب وما تقرب إلي عبدي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه. So here in this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ is narrating from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that my servant has not come closer to me with something more beloved to me than what? From something that I've made obligatory, wajib upon him. So this is the thing that we get closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. So you see that he gave different answers with different situations based on what?
What the person is asking.
Based on the person asking and the advice that he felt that that person or the people around him needed at the time. So like for example, when the guy went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, awsini, give me wasiyah, give me some advice, give me something, that I can take with me when you're not here, right? He said what? La taghdab. And then he said, فَرَدَّدَ مِرَارًا فَقَالَ لَا تَغْضَبْ. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ and said, give me wasiyah. He said what? Don't become angry. And then he asked him again and again and again, and every time that he asked him, the Prophet ﷺ said, don't become angry. Now we don't know the full story behind why the Prophet ﷺ told him, but it's hikmah, it's the wisdom. Because the sunnah itself is what? It's hikmah. Well, it's hujjah, but it's also hikmah. It's wisdom. And wisdom is putting things in its proper place at its proper time. So he would give advice to the people based on what he saw that they needed at that time. So here we got this one from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. He said, Ayul amali habbu ilallahi. Which action is the most beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal? Qala as-salatu ala waqtiha. Alright, so prayer in its proper time. Prayer in its proper time. So that means Salat al-Fajr. When do we pray Salat al-Fajr? And the hadith of Aisha, when did she say they used to pray Salat al-Fajr? So, كُنَّا نُصَلِّيهَا فِي إِيش? فِي الْغَلَسِ. When the time for Fajr comes in, but it's still dark outside. So you say, كُنَّا نُصَلِّيهَا فِي الْغَلَسِ. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. It's muttafaqun alayhi and Aisha. Alright, but when they left out of the Salat because of the time, like the Prophet ﷺ would start praying it at the earliest time, while it's still dark, when they would come into the masjid and the person would not know the person's praying next to him. But then when they left out of the Salat, by the time that they left out of the Salat and finished it, because the Prophet ﷺ, how many ayat that he used to read in Salat al-Fajr? It's between 60 to 100. بين 60 إلى 100. So 60 to 100 ayahs in the Fajr. So that's depending on, obviously the majority of the time he would be reading from the first part of the Quran, the first third. So in that point that he would be reading for a long time. Like Fajr used to be very long. So by the time they came out of the Salat, you could look over to the person and what? You will know who the person is. Yeah, you know who the person is. All right, so that's the Fajr. What about Dhuhr?
You would.
When's the beginning of Dhuhr?
Right after the
Right after the horizon.
What do we call this in Arabic?
Zawal.
The Zawal. And why do they call it the Zawal?
Is it forbidden time?
No, the forbidden time is when the al-hajir, when the sun is at its highest point, and this is where you some of the people they say kibd as-sama or sahn as-sama, you know, it's the highest point of the sky in the Arabic language. Kibd as-sama, like kibd, like the kibla, you know, the living. But it's like because it's at the highest point, and then what they call in English the zenith, right? So once it like zala an makanihi, zalat an makanihi, like it goes down a bit from its place, then this is called the zawal. This is now the time for dhuhr, because now it's going towards the west until it gets to the highest point. But it's coming up from the east, so still on the eastern side. But then once it gets to the middle point of the sky, now it's going to start its western journey, which is going to be towards setting. See, at this point when it's coming up, it's what?
rising.
It's rising. But then once it hits the zawal, once it hits the kibd as-sama, what is it now? Now it's going to start going down and start to disappear and get smaller and smaller, and the light's going to become weaker and weaker until there's no rays even to the point then it's going to set. So that point of zawal, when it comes down from the highest point, that's the time for dhuhr. All right, what about asr? From that time all the way up until the time when what?
Your shadow is as long as you.
6 feet.
Your shadow is larger than you.
Larger or like you?
As you.
Nice, it's the same as you. Because no, it's the same. Yeah, the beginning we're talking about, the first time of asr is when because the light starts to dim a bit, and now the shadow is the same as your height. This is the time for asr. You can also, you know, for example, even with the stick, you can put the stick in the ground. As far as the zawal, for the people that, you know, how do I know it's the zawal? Because you can tell by the shadow. Is the shadow going to the west, or is the shadow going towards the east? Because obviously if the sun is coming up from the east, then the shadows will be what? Westerly or whatever. And then as the sun moves towards the west, then the shadows are going to start going towards the east. Yes. All right. And how long do you have to pray asr?
Until sunset.
To my grave.
Until the rays
Yeah,
of
once.
the sun disappear.
As long as there's like, you're still looking for the sun, and you see the rays, and it's still, you know, you have to like, you know, kind of like squint your eyes looking at the sun, then the asr is still valid. But if you wait and you don't pray until the rays have gone out of this, even though the sun's still up on the horizon, but it's starting at that fall towards the horizon, at this time, the time for Salat al-Asr has gone out, and the time for Nahi is now entered. And now it's not permissible to pray. So if a person just did not pray Asr right now, all the way up until this point, what? Yeah, it's not going to be accepted from him. This is the Salat of the hypocrites. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that they sit down and they wait until the sun gets all the way on the horizon, and they get up and they pray 4 rakats like really, really, really fast, you know. And they don't even, barely even mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the salat. They're just trying to hurry up and finish it. All right. And what about, all right, so Maghrib, what?
Sunset.
Sunset.
Yeah, as soon as the sun fully dips over the horizon and disappears over the horizon. Up until when?
Until the sun is completely gone.
All right, so then Isha, when does the Isha come in?
When the sun is completely gone.
And how do you know that the sun's completely gone?
It goes from white to gray.
Yeah, exactly, because you'll see that white light along the horizon in the west. Because if we look over this way, the sun is going to set this way. So as we're looking at Maghrib, you see the darkness, just like we talked about in the hadith of Psalm, in the book of fasting, right? إذا أقبل الليل من ها هنا وإذا أقبل الليل من ها هنا وأدبر النهار من ها هنا فقال أفطر الصائم. So if you see the night coming from ha huna, from the east, because now it's going to start to get dark in the east because the sun is already on the western horizon. So إِذَا أَقْبَلَ اللَّيْلُ مِنْ هَا هُنَا. So the darkness, the night is coming from this way. وَأَدْبَرَ النَّهَارُ مِنْ هَا هُنَا. And then the day has turned on its heels and it's leaving. It's on its way out. So once you see that, you'll still see the light in the sky. Just like here, when he's calling the adhan, you can still see that pink light in the sky. And then you see the darkness over here. So that's the time for Maghrib. When all that light is gone, and all you see on the horizon is what? Yeah, it's just like darkness now, yeah. Now that's the time, because this time is, you know, once the pink light goes out, there's like a whitish light, right? This is the shafaq, right? The shafaq, right? Yeah. And that's that light. And when that goes out, that's now the time for Isha. And then the time for Isha goes until when?
Until
the first part of the night.
there you go.
Yeah.
No, second. It was midnight.
It goes up to midnight. It goes up, but there's no specified time. So the ulama, they talk about the time that is, you know, accepted, and then you got the time for like a darura, like maybe you overslept. So I mean, you could pray Isha all the way, you know, depending on if you have an excuse, obviously. But the ulama, they generally say that the midnight is the last time, but there's no like straight up evidence for that. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned about the time for Salat al-Isha. And when they prayed it, one time he kept the Sahaba waiting all the way up until midnight. And then he came in and he prayed with them and he said, هَذَا وَقْتُهَا لَوْلَا أَنَ أَشُقَّ عَلَى أُمَّتِي. So this is the time for Isha. If I wasn't that I would be putting too much a burden on my ummah, that I would have ordered them to pray at this time, was at midnight. So to say that was the last time, Allahu A'lam. I don't agree with them on that opinion about saying that midnight is the final time for Isha. But the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that in a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, that this is what? The best time for it. The best time for Isha. But the problem is obviously people, they got to work, they got to get up, they got to do things. So it becomes a difficulty on them. So it's not easy to pray at that time. But every once in a while, we should do that, because that is an abandoned sunnah. Allahumma musta'an. I'm going to make a video about that too. Abandoned sunnah, coming soon. You know, time for Isha. All right. I got him, man. I got him. Die. All right. Allahumma musta'an. All right. So that's that. He said, as-salatu ala waqtiha, qultu thumma ay. And then he said, and after that, what? What's next after that? He said, thumma birrul walidain. All right, being righteous to your parents. All right, you know, of course, righteousness includes obedience to them in everything except for the disobedience to Allah. And anything that's, all right, so they have the rights of Islam, and they have the rights of the urf, or whatever is known. So like, for example, I come from the South. There's no way that I'm going to speak to my mother and my mother says, are you hungry? And I say, yeah. What are we going to say? Yes, ma'am. I'm hungry. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like that. There's no way that we're just going to, so there's certain things that, you know, we're not going to sit here and say that these things are taqleed al-kufar, because they're what? That's urf. You know, that's what we're commanded. And whatever doesn't go against our religion, and this doesn't, because this is respect to the parents and this is what they expect, that's the way that we talk. And this is something that we should be raising our kids up with, this type of manners, because wallahi, today is like a day you don't even want to live in this world anymore, man. SubhanAllah, you do not even want to live in this world anymore. You know, back in our days, you remember, the drug dealers out here, they be out on the streets, F this, F that, F this, F that. A grown person comes out and says, hey boy, yes sir. Right away, yes sir, no sir. And he won't even look him in the eyes, won't even look the grown person in the eyes. He'll be looking down, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. But nowadays, wallahi, subhanAllah, you get dudes on the bus, 15 years old, and he'll fight a 70-year-old. He'll get in a fight with a 70-year-old, fist fight with a 70-year-old. No respect for grown folks, with his parents. You got dudes nowadays kill their parents. Yeah, just recently, I think it was just in the news, right? a woman or something, I don't know, some kafir, right? Killed his mother because he said what? She got on my nerves. She got on my nerves. He went and stabbed her to death and killed her. So long, there's a time that you don't even want to live in this earth anymore. You want to go find a deserted island and become like Robinson Crusoe with a Quran, a Mus'haf, and a copy of Sahih Bukhari and Tafsir ibn Kathir, and just sit on a deserted island until death comes to you. Almost time. All right, but he said, after he said, ثُمَّ بِرُّ الْوَالِدَيْنِ كُنْتُ ثُمَّ أَيْ. And then after that, he said, what else? What's next? He said, قَالَ ثُمَّ الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And then after that, he said, fighting and struggling in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, قَالَ حَدَّثَنِي بِهِنْ. And why did you notice that he put the birr al-walidain before the jihad, right? He put the birr al-walidain before jihad. What's the wisdom, do you think, behind that?
What's that?
Being righteous to the parents.
Because if you're going off outside of your land, you have to go out with that permission. You have affairs with the employer.
Yeah, okay, if your parents are Muslim, you have to have their permission if you want to go fight jihad. But this is, what type of jihad is this? But this is when it's fard al-kifaya for you to go. Alright, so if you're going to another place to help out the Muslims, but now if the wali al-amr of a place, he said, you know, istanfar nas, he said, now everybody go out, the enemies attack our country, everybody go out and defend the country, you know, fight against the enemies of this deen. Now at this point, it becomes what? There's an obligation on everybody in that country to go out and fight. Does he need his parents' permission at this point? No, because this is fard al-ayn. But any time that the jihad is fard al-kifaya, which is just general, and then, you know, yeah, then he needs the permission.
So if someone goes to jihad and the parents say no, he go to the hellfire zone?
If the parents are Muslim.
Yeah, so if the parents
Because the guy went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said he wanted to get the permission to fight with the Prophet. He said, Hayyun walidayk, and walidak. And he said, are your two parents alive? He said, nah. He said, and fihim wajahid, you know, go back and be loyal to them and you know, fulfill your duties to them, and then come back and fight. So make sure that you get their permission first, if they're Muslim. But if they're not Muslim, you don't need their permission, whatever the case is. Whatever, to go out, seek knowledge or anything.
So like, even if they say no, then you just like, it's just something in your heart, you know, that says like, go out there though, still. Like, then what would that be?
No, but the point is that if you had the correct, real intentions, you know, it's like, okay, you get people that just yippity yap, right? And they're like, I want to go fight, I want to do this, but then they go and, you know, he's actually happy that his parents said no, because now he has an excuse, what? Not to go, right? But we're talking about a person like, this is all I want to do, right? Then he goes up and asks his parents permission, and they say no. And it crushes him, but he knows that he has to obey his parents. So what happens with this person?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give him the reward for what he intended.
Yeah, you get the reward. Well, mata ala firashihi, even if he died in his bed. Even if he died in his bed. Khalas. I mean, so you know, this is obedience to Allah and His Messenger. And this is what He told you to do, that you have to get their permission first. So you don't go out and, you know, and they might need you, and you might be the last son or whatever, or somebody that they depend on the most, and then they need you, you have to stay with them and fulfill their obligations first, you know. And then, if Allah opens the doors, then they give you that. It's the same thing. We had this issue with going out and seeking knowledge all the time. People all the time, you know, I want to go out and seek knowledge, but my parents won't let me. They won't let me. So what do you do?
It depends.
Go ahead.
Let's just say if your parents, if they don't let you go learn how to do your salah, and the only way you could go learn how to do your salah is if you come to the masjid and you learn, but your parents say don't go. Now disobeying them is mandatory to do that. But like if they're old and you want to go like Saudi to study ilm, that's not mandatory upon you to study, and it will be haram for you to go because they need you to take care of them.
Yeah. All right, so it depends on the situation, but yeah. The knowledge is wajib, it's obligatory for every single Muslim to have, how to pray, how to make wudu, how to fast. This knowledge, and if it's not found in the area that he's in, and he's got to go out and seek that knowledge, because now he can go get that knowledge, and he can bring it back and teach it to the people in that area, then that's an obligation upon him. And he doesn't need, that's a fard ayn, so he doesn't need their permission to do that. And in fact, their permission to keep him there, it keeps the people ignorant, keeps him ignorant, keeps them ignorant. So in this case, no, there's no obedience for that. But if it's, like he said, if it's extra knowledge, things that are not, that are fard al-kifaya, but it depends on, again, on that situation, because that knowledge, it might be fard al-kifaya, but he might be the only one that has the ability to go out and seek that knowledge and come back and teach the people. And then his parents are trying to keep him in the Bilad al-Kufar, and no, I want you to go to college, and you mixing with Becky and Elizabeth and all her friends in the university, then no. And in this case, no, we're not going to obey and those types of things. But in ma'ruf, and all the ma'ruf, which is anything that is permissible, there's no obedience in munkar. So he said after that, he said, ثُمَّ الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ قَالَ حَدَّثَنِي بِهِنْ. He said he gave me these things, these three things, right? وَلَوْ اسْتَزَدْتُهُ لَزَادَنِي. And what he means, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, if I would have asked the Prophet ﷺ more, ثُمَّ أَيِّ, he would have, continued. If I had continued to ask him, he would have continued to give me more and more and more and more, All right. So this hadith is, I believe, Bukhari Muslim,
Did Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiallahu anhu, did he narrate this hadith before or after the Prophet ﷺ died?
After. الظاهر is after, because it's أو ما بيده نحو الدار, حدثنا صاحب هذه الدار. And yeah. So yeah, that's after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, hadith number 2, and this will be the last one, because like I said, we'll take one chapter a day, inshallah. What time is it? What time is the Isha coming now?
8:47.
All right.
It's 8:47.
All right, we'll finish this up now. Well, we still got one more. We still got to take Bulugh Maram. So we'll finish that up. We'll probably, like 9 o'clock, we'll probably break it up. All right, we'll finish this up, and somebody can call the Adhan, and we'll take Bulugh Maram up until the time for Salah, inshallah. All right, حدثنا آدم قال حدثنا شعبة قال حدثنا يعلى ابن عطاء عن أبيه عن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال رضا رب في رضا الوالد وسخط الرب في سخط الوالد. All right, so this hadith is reported by Abdullah ibn Amr. He said that قال رضا رب, that the pleasure, I guess you could say, with Allah being pleased. Allah is pleased when when the parents are pleased. وسخط الرب, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes angry at the anger of what? Of the parents. And this hadith is the stronger opinion is hadith is mawquf and not marfu', obviously. Because what did Shaykh al-Albani say?
صحيح مرفوعا صحيحا.
He said it was a sahih marfu'an. What did he? Hasan mawqufan wa sahih marfu'an. But here the narration is mawquf. But even the chain of narration here is kind of a little weak. But yeah, I haven't seen the chain. I have to see the chain of narration where it's marfu'. Did he bring it or no?
No, it just says, I think, like, Abdullah ibn Umar.
Ibn Amr.
There's a dhamma on the thing.
Check it, go back and check it. This is Abdullah ibn Amr. Go down and look at the footnotes. They said that, no,
Oh, yes, he would.
there are some, there's a discrepancy in some of the manuscripts that say Abdullah ibn Umar. Some of the strongest ones say Abdullah ibn Amr.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other ones said Abdullah ibn Umar. So it's, So they're probably basing it off the other different manuscripts of the book, the handwritten book. All right, so that's it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased as the parents are what? Pleased. But does that mean in all cases, mutlaqan? No. Because sometimes the parents will be displeased because you're doing something that they're commanding you to do. You're not doing it, but they're commanding you to do something that's in what? Disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if that's the case that they're being displeased, then does that mean that you earn the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. But you also, the manner that you carry out your disobedience to your parents is not going to be what? Disrespectful and aggressive and confrontational and there's all those bad things.
Not gonna be bitter, not gonna be angry, not gonna be ugly.
Yeah, exactly. So if your parents say, look, we want you to go to college, you say, look, Dad, I understand, thank you for, wanting good for me, but and then our religion, and I don't want to be around girls, and I don't want to be in this type of environment, so I'm not going to do it, but you do it in a nice, soft, kind manner, so you're not doing it in any type of confrontational way, because if that type of disobedience is not accepted in Islam, and if they do become displeased, then you are in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you do it in that manner. But it's the manner that you do it in. So at least at the very end, they can accept it from you, even though they don't agree with you. But they'll accept it because of the what?
Your character.
The manner and the character and the way that you did it. So, but I mean, you could be doing the right thing and be in complete obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you carry it out in the wrong way. And then you cause them what? Hey, you cause them anger, and then the next thing you know, you earn the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even though you're in the right, they're in the wrong. They're telling you to do something haram. I'm not going to do it. You guys are jahl and ignorant. You don't know anything, And look what happens. Even though you're in the right, but the manner that you carry it out in is what? It's dead wrong.
So according to Shaykh al-Albani, this hadith is sahih?
He said Mufrad. I want to see the chain of narration, but this narration that came in Adab Mufrad is mawquf, and it's kind of weak. It's a bit weak. All right, but he said it's Hasan, probably a bit much more. Turaqi, I don't know, but I have to see the chain of narrations for the Mufrad. Let's see where it says it.
أبقي
What?
يعني بقي لهذا
No, inshallah, because he's gonna call the adhan. We'll do the Bulugh al-Maram, inshallah. He'll just continue doing it for Facebook, because the Bulugh al-Maram is specifically for us, for our community here.
Nikah, right?
Yeah. We're gonna go through the divorce, like the marriage, divorce, all the books that we have problems with. وإلهنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
This was the first book I ever bought.